Hello, hello. Welcome to Scouting for Growth, the podcast which enables entrepreneurs, investors gain insight on the venturing world from a fintech and insurtech lens. It is not an easy task for small and medium-sized businesses to find the right protection, despite the fact that there are so much more small businesses out there that have emerged since the pandemic. So today I decided to tap into the knowledge of two industry veterans, Jeff Shi, who runs InsurTech Group, where he connects consumers with top industry partners using advanced processes and technologies. Jeff helps consumers to better understand their policy in an effort to meet each of their unique needs. Tim Lovett has nearly been at the Hartford for 6 years. The Hartford is a well-known insurance group in Connecticut, which I have worked with too in the past. Tim helps small and medium-sized companies make better choices. He has a background in claims management and distribution. Both strengths allow Tim to educate and assist agents in growing their respective small commercial portfolio. On this episode of Scouting for Growth, I've asked Jeff and Tim to help us understand the current situation with small commercials in the United States. SMEs, as we all know, make over 90% of businesses in many countries, and they are often considered to be the backbone of the economy. However, due to their diversity and dispersed nature, it can be challenging to estimate the exact size of the SME market in many, even developing or developed markets. So let's dive in. And a reminder, if you enjoy listening to this podcast, do not forget to subscribe to it, rate it, and provide a comment here below. If there is a topic that you feel needs addressing, just send me a message using the communication channel provided as well below. So let's welcome Jeff and Tim to start our discussion on small commercials. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Scouting for Growth. I am so thrilled today to have two market colleagues joining us, Tim Lovett and Jeff Shi, and both are going to introduce themselves because they are passionate about insurance, and we are going to focus today on small commercials. So I'll start with Tim. Welcome, Tim.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
And please tell us a little bit more about who you are, Tim.
Yeah, so my name's Tim Lovett. I'm with the Hartford today, and I work in our business development space, researching, bringing on, kind of standing up, architecting strategic partners, programs. It's a very broad bucket. When you think about it, it can go from anything from setting up formalized programs with franchises, associations to the all too fun world of InsurTechs and exploring the new types of partners that are out there to try to help customers in the best way possible.
Superb. So partnership is one of your key core skill set and developing amazing partner ecosystems.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think it's been really great to be in this role. My background's very eclectic with what I've done in insurance over time. So to me, it's almost been a crescendo to kind of get here and be in the right spot at the right time.
Superb. Jeff, welcome.
For having me.
And Jeff, tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, my name is Jeff, and I am founder of InsurTech Groups. We are focused on delivering client experience, and we are a distribution-focused personal line and commercial line insurance agency. And what we're trying to do is enhance the consumer experience using InsurTech and technologies.
So one thing I saw, Jeff, is that you do a lot of other things. Can you share a little bit more about your other top projects?
So we do a little bit of consulting work in the insurance space. I I connect with a lot of people in the InsurTech space, and I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. Not as many followers as yours, but I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. And I got a couple little babies, 2-year-old and 4-year-old, and they keep me pretty busy.
Well, I am sure children can keep you busy. I have amazing godchildren, which, when I go and see them
Wow.
during the weekend, keep me super busy too. So let's get started with our conversation around small commercial. So, first, what does small commercial stand for, and how is the market going right now, Tim?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I laugh all the time because I feel like we all speak different languages in the insurance industry and how we define small businesses, even amongst carrier groups that specialize in small business. Brokers tend to have different definitions of what they call small business. I think that's broadened over time to be even a bigger bucket than it used to be historically, just from a modeling perspective. Typically speaking, you're probably looking at under 50 employees, under 100 employees
Hmm.
type businesses. Mostly can be defined within that small commercial bucket, but I think it's even fragmented from there, to be honest with you. And this is something me and Jeff have talked about. When you think about the buckets of customers and sizes, there's micro, there's small middle market, there's true middle market. There's a whole segmentation that's happened, I think, organically over a really long period of time as we all evolve and kind of expand our products and our offerings to be a broader reach. So, very difficult to define individually, broadly, and everybody agree. But
Yeah.
I think, it's pretty safe to bucket it that way.
Yes, I mean, I did look at some stats, for the UK. So I think, small and medium sized enterprises, we call them SME, or small and medium sized businesses, represent probably 90% of all the businesses which are
Yeah.
there. And it's not small. And in the UK, you won't believe, but we have 5.5 million small and medium sized enterprises. And then the macro size enterprises are around 5.2 million businesses. So not insignificant. And, I think with COVID and now being able to do digital better and working from all around the globe, there would be more small businesses coming to market.
Yeah, I agree. It's expanded massively. COVID was a, absolutely terrible event for the world, but for small businesses, you saw, such thoughtful entrepreneurs try to figure out how to navigate that and expand their business and operations. And, you saw a lot of people go from, one person shops to now remote,
Yeah.
opening up multiple shops across different areas and geographies. And so it's just it's been an evolution in how we all define small business.
Jeff, what are the challenges small businesses faced? I mean, you are talking with InsurTechs every single day, and I'm sure you are seeing unique patterns across all of them.
Yeah, as far as small business when it comes to insurance, the shopping behavior pattern is so different on a personal line versus commercial line. And I think this is the biggest area open for disruption. It's the first step of the insurance shopping journey.
Yeah.
And here's what I mean. So if I search auto insurance right now, and Google will pull up first page results, and that first page results, it says based on your zip code is always at the top, right?
Yeah.
So that means everybody that show up on their first page are people who want to do business with consumer like myself based on my zip code.
Mhm.
And in the US, insurance rating for every single carrier is all state based. So every single person show up on the first page, if they are a direct to consumer, then they all say, "Hey, I want to do business with Jeff because he is in Chantilly, Virginia." So if I want to do business with Jeff because he's in Chantilly, Virginia, I want to make sure I show up on Google search first page based on Google locations, right? The personalized space is so dialed down, like it's been like this for a long time that you know there's a lot of structure around the place on the first step of insurance journey, and also there's probably 15 performance marketing agencies, and half of them public traded, like EverQuote, like Data, like Quote Wizard, which is by Lending Tree, Queen Street, Alpha Media. The list go on, right? And their number one revenue for these performance media company is always either mortgage company or insurance industry. But right now, mortgage companies is taking a 90% revenue cut. So insurance is their bread and butter and survival right now. But if you take a look at their revenue stream coming from insurance, I would say it's 80% P&C, and out of that 80% is auto, and then some percentage of Medicare, some percentage of final expense, some percentage of life. But this is their fragment of their revenue actually come from performance marketing space on the commercial line side, and I think that's the biggest disruption for any direct to consumer carrier. So when you think about direct to consumer carrier, think about Hartford. I'm just putting Hartford out there. Hartford, they have a direct channel to serve the clients. So does Nationwide, so does Progressive, so does Liberty Mutual. Progressive might have the biggest appetite out there with commercial auto, commercial trucking, and small commercials. But true commercial, small commercial space, that space really belongs to CNA, Hartford, Liberty Mutual, and Chubb, of course. But if I talk about the true direct to consumer space, I mean they're just not spending money on Google like the four top direct to consumer personal line carriers are, which is Liberty Mutual, USA, Progressive, and Geico.
Yeah.
So the structure of how consumers shop really come down to who bid for their mobile search. And right now, I would say on the personal line side is 80% enterprise direct to consumer, 18% by the agency force, which is also agents, State Farm agents, farmers agent that's subsidized by their carriers, and then the other 2% on the personal line side go to independent agents. And on the commercial line side, it's just everywhere. It's the amount of dollars is changing every day because there's so many different keywords, right? Like personal line is so easy. You just bid on auto, you just bid on home. On the commercial line side, you can't just bid on commercial insurance. You have to bid on specific out keywords, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And, when we actually observe some of the challenges around, what SME means, and, even them trying to find insurance over the past 2 years, and that is going to be a question for team. A lot of insurers have come out of specific lines of business. I've talked to insurers, I've talked to startups which had to change their strategy. Some actually failed when they lost their insurance capacity. So we see that potentially regulation and shifting strategies, right, amongst insurers have also affected the SME from a commercial insurance viewpoint, but also for those who need it. Team, what's your view?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think there's, when you think about the dichotomy between the personal lines industry and the commercial industry, right? And making it easy, as Jeff puts it, to come into the front door, to be able to get a quote, to be broadly accessible. Most of those small businesses that you referenced earlier, right? The small ones that really don't have the breadth and scale of some of these really large companies, they're trying to look to secure insurance as easily as possible. One of the challenges is, and the biggest difference between personal and commercial lines is third-party data, right? There's a lot of centralized sources for personal lines where you can put in your name and address and it'll populate VIN numbers and everything else about your property. Commercial lines is still complex, right? Sometimes we forget that there's a lot of rating factors that go into that, and there is no centralized data source where you can pull property values and property specs and go down the list, right? Like of all the rating components that go into commercial lines. It's whether you have one location or 100 locations, the data points that you need are similar, right? As a business owner. And so without that third party centralization of data, what it creates for a customer is you still have to understand their business, right? You still have to know how to classify them, which arguably is the most complex part of the process today, right? Like when you talk about all the different methodologies of carriers and everybody out there to get to the right classification of insured, you start thinking through like the process, and it's like you have NAIC codes, you have SIC codes, you have carrier proprietary codes, and all those can map to be different depending on your partner and your relationship. And so I think about the journey of a customer, right? What are we asking them to know? We're
Yeah.
asking them to know a lot, and I think that's why I'm just such a huge proponent of, as we've talked about before, and me and Jeff have debated this a million times, technology is there to enhance the experience of a customer, right? We should be leveraging technology to enhance things, not to completely upend the way insurance is transacted, because that's not possible after this long in the industry, and how settled everybody is in their modeling and the process. Technology should really be a plug-in to take data from point A to point B as best as possible, and then still have some level of care and attention to a small business owner, right? And I think that's where my stance is on that. I feel like we really have to understand that technology isn't there to replace any of the mechanisms of what value can be added by great, meaningful interaction and guidance to customers, but it should enhance the efficiency of partners. It should enhance the efficiency of customers to make it a little easier, because those small business owners, with what they've been through, oh
Mhm.
my goodness, they got a lot more going on than just insurance, right? Like you're wearing a million hats most of the time as a small business owner, doing pretty much everything. So um, I think that's one of the challenges that I see in how we interact in the industry. And to me, it's got to be a choreographed dance. Carriers, brokers, customers all have to get together to kind of figure out how those puzzle pieces go together
Yeah.
to create the right experience with the right things at the right time. So that's my take on it.
Well, let's go into the technology conversation because, when I talk to carriers or to young businesses, carriers really want to solve for a variety of market. And I would say now, looking at how we innovate in the small commercial is definitely top of mind for 2023. But when I talk about technology, we are dealing still with legacy systems. And when we go into access to data and driving maybe more real time underwriting, we're still struggling, and particularly in commercial. So, what's your view, gentlemen? And I'll start with Jeff around how do we make sure that we develop the right product and services, but also at the right price for those young businesses? As you know, as I said earlier, maybe that the price of insurance, when we were actually talking together, the price of insurance, at least in the UK, has increased for cyber, for instance, for small commercial. It has increased, and so people are going to think twice. I need cyber. We are going into a highly digitized world, but a lot of the policy prices have increased drastically. How can I cover myself for a small price? And some of the insurance available are very, very few. I am very proud to work with I'm insured by one of the leading insurers here in the UK, but the premium is not small. I'll be honest with you, it's not small. So, Jeff, what's your view?
You know, Progressive developed telematics, and telematics brought in a new era of smart underwriting on the go, right? And then Tesla, they have all the data with the cameras, the braking, the acceleration, and they are like a almost more advanced version of progressive telematics in a way. So personal line insurance is being evolving so fast, right? And I think small commercial, when it comes to cyber, at some point there are gonna be more partnerships of, if we give you cyber policy discount number one, let's just we call it safety device. Um, there's a discount on your cyber policy called safety device, and you got to partner with our partner VPN. Let's just call it Norton VPN, right? You have 11 employees in your organization, and these 11 employees have 11 laptops and 11 cell phones, and 11 email address. So we need all Norton VPN installed on all 11 laptops, 11 uh, mobile device, and also what we need is, we need, I don't know, McAfee uh, software antivirus device, right? We also need Google Authenticator. So once these all three check marks are done, and we see all 11 devices being monitored live on the software, the virus software, the VPN, the authenticator, then you get this discount. That will bring your cyber policy down. And I don't think these days cyber policy is that sophisticated enough. And I see one day somebody will connect all these protective devices all together, because phishing, hacking, malware are all really come in through a couple ways, right? Texting, email, right? Stolen off identification information. And these three things and potentially a couple other things can be a defense mechanism, like a shield, right? So in the future, I don't see cyber as one giant policy. I see a telematic version of cyber policy coming in, and that's got to be true strategic partnership. So when you start going through LinkedIn, you see every single carriers, insurance carriers, cyber policy, product development people. They got to be more and more and more of strategic partner relationship people on the right now. Strategic partner relationship people for insurance carriers are all on the distribution side. At some point, they got to be on the product side, if that makes sense. That's just what I'm thinking. I don't know. Tim, fill in.
Yeah, I would say a few things to that. Like one of the challenges with the marketplace in cyber and what small business owners face is when you're talking about a small business owner, you know, it the challenge is the cost of building the correct cybersecurity infrastructure, right? And Jeff referenced all the things he has plugged in to monitor and all that stuff, but the intrusions are happening at such an elementary level that it's still a people-driven loss, right? When you're talking about phishing, that's just an email that went to somebody that then opened up a door, right? And it's really education that you need to get
Yeah.
to the staff members of your business to try to help them understand when to do things, what to click, what not to click, because it's still a people-driven loss at this point, right? In a majority of ways. Same thing can be said about invoice manipulation, right? You get an email saying, "Hey, wire me $1 million," and it appears to have the email address of your boss, and you click it and you wire them $1 million. Well, that's a people-driven loss, right? And so I think one of the challenges with cyber is, unlike geographic modeling and other things in property that you can do to understand the quantity and the frequency of loss and the severity of loss, it's still one of those spaces where it's so people driven that the predictability isn't there to be able to moderate the prices, right? And I think that's the challenge is when you see your prices going up 40, 50, 60, 80% year over year for your cyber policy, it's because it's unpredictable at this point. We need more education, we need more training, we need more resources, and that's not all on insurance carriers either, right? In the marketplace, I think we've got to do a better job at educating our small businesses in the topic because it is happening at a higher frequency. There's more data and reporting around it than ever,
Yeah.
and I think we have a really great opportunity to take a step back and say, okay, how do we get better at a people-driven event, right? Not a weather-related, not a geography-related event, not something that we've typically historically modeled around, but how do we help the people and arm them be smarter as small business owners and employees to stop these trigger events from creating challenges? It's a tough thing, and it's expensive today, by the way. The cybersecurity market, oh my goodness, they're all-time high in revenues. I mean, it's
Yeah.
in the hundreds of billions and increasing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's interesting because I have to give a shout out to Carbell, the Carbell team, because I have actually an educational podcast, and I definitely concur with you, Tim. It's about education, and even talking with Alexis, I actually already had implemented a lot of those strategies because you do a lot of research. We do a lot of research on cyber.
Yeah.
We work with cyber startups. We work with carriers, right? We are in insurance, so we need to know what we are pitching as well. But what they also have done is build and launch 2 weeks ago, I think, an academy, which means that it's about teaching, educating young entrepreneurs, but also small businesses, the basics of how
Yep.
one protect oneself and be secured in a highly digitized world. And so if you had, three tips to give just for cyber before we talk about other, we are talking about small commercial. So there are other things than just cyber. What would be the three tips you would give either a small commercial um, customer, entrepreneur, enterprise, and a potential insurance buyer?
Yeah, that's it's an interesting question. I mean, there's tons of research that suggests it most of it starts with a proper training and education around what to do if, right? So you've got to talk about those if then scenarios, right? When you get an email and you don't think that it's in the typical vernacular of your, one of your coworkers or your boss, like that's a pause point, right? It's I think something that when you work at a large company, right? If you think about all the trainings that get cascaded to employees, there's always trainings on that, right? If you get a phishing email, here's what you click, here's what you do, here's who you call. But when you work in a small business where you're literally just trying to survive, the next day's orders or whatever it may be, it's not top of the priority list to go around and tell your staff like, hey, if you get a weird phone call, don't click that wire button. If you get a weird email, ask me if I sent it. You have my phone number, text me, right? Like there's small things that you can do as a small business owner that aren't, cost associated in building cybersecurity infrastructure around your computer systems and data, but more around the behaviors of the people that would probably help. And so that would be where I would start with the advice is, if I'm a small business owner in today's world, the one of the first things I'm doing is sitting down with my staff to say, okay, guys, here's what I think that could happen to you, right? And there's plenty of, to your point about Googling it, plenty of ways to Google like what's happened to somebody in cyber, and you'll get it, and you can take those scenarios and then extrapolate what you would do to your employees. That's a 15-minute meeting, right? You don't have to be there for 2 hours with them, and
Yeah.
I think that's a great first step. I think calling experts is always a plus, right? Again, as I mentioned, the cybersecurity, firms that are out there, like they're available and they're in abundance right now. And so my recommendation is call someone, get a consultation. I
Mhm.
don't think that's a bad move to start with.
So, I mean, those two recommendations are absolutely crucial for people to process and also understand. Tim, I'm going to tease you, maybe, I don't know. But what what about what is happening with ChatGPT? You probably read the news, right? People have been able to build malware with ChatGPT. And,
Yeah,
there's been really interesting stories, which are scary, or emulate somebody else. So
yeah,
ChatGPT, talk like Sabine van der Linden,
that's right.
that is scary. And then you have
It
this
is.
other layer of education you have to provide your
Yep,
employees, right? It's now even
yep,
different, right?
yep. It's terrifying. I'll be honest. In today's world, like people are that want to do bad things typically get very creative, right? And as you stop one bad thing, they evolve and they evolve and they evolve and they evolve. And I think when you look at how the evolution of these hacks have happened, right? Hackers have gotten smarter. They know how they're being stopped and they pivot and they do a really good job at finding new ways to enter in to people's worlds. And so the challenge with what you just mentioned is are you going to solve that as a business owner? Probably not. Like if somebody's really good at imitating you, right? It'd be like taking a clone and walking into your physical location, right? And then telling your employees what to do. It's just happening digitally instead, right? Which is like a terrifying concept to think of. But I mean, I think the best thing that you can do is just continue to reinforce to your employees what to look out for as much as possible and be realistic that you can't prevent everything. Like
Yeah,
it's impossible, right? And the cost of the product is increasing, but relative to the loss that happens, right? It's still the same insurance principle, right? You're paying this now to avoid paying this later mentality. And so as expensive as it is when you see those, quotes in your head comparative to what you think you should pay for it, it is still better than paying those huge
absolutely.
sums later in insurance. And I think that's the hardest thing as a small business owners when you're strapped for revenue is to look at your outgoing non-revenue generating payments and say, this is great, it's fine. But I think it's one of those necessities. You can't unfortunately, you can't avoid thinking about having a cyber policy today. And to properly protect your assets, you really have to consider it. And cyber carriers have given a lot of resources too. I don't want to knock them, right? Everybody that's writes cyber has created cyber centers with resources and educational material and hotlines to call in if something happens to, mitigate loss and stop intrusions with known cybersecurity firms. So there's a lot of added benefits other than just paying a claim in a cyber policy. You get support with a lot of the carriers that are really good at it.
Yeah, I think, that it's first about for sure education, and it's also about continuing driving that awareness like we have done with, climate change, environmental change, and sustainability. The more people have become aware of the man-made events. Well,
Yeah.
recently, actually, I was talking to a startup that, Sabine, there is always man-made disaster and there is climate events. And so I think it was a really polite way of saying if we can control the behavior of humans, then probably we could actually do better. Jeff, what's your view on this before we talk about other things that affect small commercials?
Yeah. So Tim brought up all the good points of how to mitigate a claim, a potential cyber claim. These are not things that we can control, but these are things that we can help to control things, right? Um, Yesterday, I saw a guy who did a live webinar as Tom Cruise. The deep fake technology is so amazing because we have Tom Cruise in movies, so they got the voice. They got the voice from Tom Cruise. And now they have the face of Tom Cruise. He did a 30-minute webinar as Tom Cruise in Tom Cruise voice to show off the deep fake technology. And then also I have seen Trump did it. I have seen Biden did it. I mean, there's so many deep fake of Biden and Trump out there, right?
Yeah,
Because
Elon
they got
Musk.
enough.
Even Elon
Yeah.
Musk have a real looking
Mhm.
like look-alike Elon Musk. So just
Yeah. And then
Let's
there's
get a Jeff Shi deep fake. That'd be awesome. Let's do that
yeah,
right now.
but
Like,
but here's the thing, that's easy. So if I want to do phishing against my employees, I can mirror a cell phone number, right? Someone can literally call one of my people and make the call ID says Jeff Shi. If you don't know how to do it, go on YouTube. That's easy done. There's
that's
there's probably 20 videos of me on LinkedIn and YouTube of my webinars and my podcasts. You can go on my LinkedIn channel and see all my podcasts. But now you have my voice, now you have my face. So if someone want to do a deep fake, call my customers, call my employees, and get them to wire money, I could get it done in 2 hours. That's how scary it is. And now that Tim's on the internet, we can get Tim's
oh,
deepfake of face and voice done, right? And we can use that to call his people, his
don't
friends,
scare
right?
Tim. I mean,
I
this
don't
is
have any
very real
friends. You're
life.
safe. You're safe. I have zero
Okay.
friends, internet world, just so you know. Zero. Don't worry
So
about it.
here's my solution on one thing. So there's a big famous claim that happened in 2021. It's actually against the insurance carrier that they got hacked. And then the hackers was very famous. I think they were Ukraine. I could be wrong. And they're a group of sophisticated hackers, and they demanded like $20 million in Bitcoin, and they give them a deadline. But since this carrier, they're like, we never paid ransom in Bitcoin before. We don't know how, and they missed the deadline. And once they missed the deadline, the ransom doubled. So instead of paying the original ransom amount and reclaim their business, they had to pay double. So there's a lesson learned right there, and here's the reason why. Um, Cyber world is a little bit different, right? Like if you are playing in the habitual world, if you're playing in the small commercial world of restaurants, of landscaping, whatever the claim is, the restoration work being done, it's going to be paid out in US dollars, right? US dollar is the same mechanic that we use for underwriting purposes, right? When we do underwriting, our premium is losses, potentials, restoration plus restoration costs, and actuary mechanics equals to premium. equals a premium, and the premium is then get deposited into insurance carriers. Insurance carriers, they take that premium and they have their flow of charts, right? We're
Mhm.
gonna use premium for investing, and we're gonna use premium for uh, storing, right? Deposit storing, in case of a bad day. So here we are. Then we are at the situation where cyber is the only insurance product right now that the end payout doesn't happen in US dollars, right? Name another insurance product where the insurer, the insurance carrier pay the insurer that doesn't pay them in dollars.
Mhm.
Because when Tim Lovett, let's just say he have a small business and small consulting business got hacked, and then he's coming to Jeff, say, Jeff, I'm making a claim. I'll say, okay, what do you need to claim? What do you need to pay? He said, I need to pay my ransom people in $1 million Bitcoin. I'm like, that's odd because you give me dollars and I'm storing dollars, but I had to pay you out in Bitcoin, right? So the main currency out there is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and there's a dog. I can't remember the dog.
Yeah,
Dogecoin, yeah,
well, you have
Dogecoin, right?
Dodge, yeah. Well, it's because you
Yeah,
can't track them, right?
yeah. So just imagine the people that who are the reinsurance partner of Cowbell, the reinsurance partner of Beasley, of Hartford. I think they got to have a 10-to-1 ratio. So for every $1 million of premium that they are storing on the book, I think there got to be some kind of regulation. They all need to come together and say, hey, what should the number be? And then this is a bunch of quants and actually need to do the work on it. That they need to store that 10% minimum in Bitcoin's
Mhm,
deposits reserves.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But so when we look at small commercial, Jeff, as a sector that need help with the right insurance beyond cyber, where do you think are the opportunities, and who is doing really well serving the small commercial market?
I defer this question to Tim Lovett.
Okay.
He's punting. He's punting, Sabine. This is not shocking. So I would say there's a couple things that we all try to think through, right? And it's delivering the right products to the customers. And I think where we're all starting to understand is like insurance and insurance products and all those things. We have to keep evolving, right? Customers have different needs. There are different arrangements. There's different limits based on sizes and how they're growing. And so I think we're all looking to evolve and really be valuable to a customer. But I also think that includes non-insurance products. I don't. I think we're hitting a phase where insurance products and insurance services and coverages and limits are table stakes. You have to do those things. You have to transact it well to be successful with customers. But I also think all those other ancillary things that someone does or can do, right, to add value to a customer, non-price, non-product, non-coverage, is really important, right? And it's the little things like digital service. Do you have the ability to get online and take care of your own stuff, request your own certificates, change your own coverages? Can you manage your own policies digitally? That's a really non-core to the function of the policy, but it's core to the function of our lives, right? I can check into a hotel through my phone today, right? Like I don't even stop at the front desk anymore. I don't even know if they have people there. Scan, go, move, right? And I think that's a core function that we've got to offer to customers. And I think we do really well at that. We're an exceptional carrier with that space. I think it also goes to the other intangibles like loss control, risk mitigation resources, different partnerships that we have because of our brand, ties to other folks that can offer products and services, at discounted rates. I think there's a whole evolution coming in carriers and partners externally understanding how to come together to better serve business owners. And it's something I work on in my space tirelessly. Like I'm very passionate about what helps the small business owner. Not how can I sell a policy. That's not important to me whatsoever. It's a byproduct of being good at adding value that
Yeah.
that happens. But I believe that working with brokers, third parties, other entities to create value for a small business owner is kind of where we need to head, because nobody wants to move for $5-10 difference up or down in premiums.
No.
It's just too much work.
No.
But the value that you can add back, by being intelligent with who you align yourself to, is incredibly helpful to a small business owner by giving them resources that they normally would have to pay for, to get elsewhere. So that's my take. I believe in value. Me and Jeff talk about this a ton. He's smiling because he's probably heard me say this a million times, but I think it's so important to add value. That's just my perspective.
Yeah, it's value creation. Jeff, anything you want to add?
I do. So what's funny is now Tim and I are gonna flip. I am gonna talk about the other side of that coin. When we go to InsurTech Connect, when we go to InsurTech Insights, when we go to 5, 7, 8, 10 regional InsurTech events, the people who are participating in these events are carriers, software vendors. There's a lot of software vendors. If I have every dollar for a software vendor, I'm a rich guy. But
let's find a way to do that, sir.
At the end of the day, let's just say Tim Lovett have a restaurant in Columbus, Ohio, and they sell the best Connecticut, New Haven pizza out there, right? And he have a claim. He have a claim to his restaurant, right? He's gonna talk to his broker agent who sold him the Hartford insurance policy because he have a claim. There's a really sad thing happening with our industry right now. There are probably 1/3 or even 40% of agency owners are retiring. In the next 3 to 5 years, we could see 45 to 40% of our total agency owner retiring. And these are the bedrock of insurance. I mean, when we talk about InsurTech, we put technology on insurance. At the end of the day, they're the true CX, right? Customer experience CX. These brokers serving Tim in his New Haven pizza in Columbus, Ohio, they're the bedrock. They're the foundation, right? Everybody else around it, we're just actuary, we are just distribution, we are just commission, we are just carrier reps. At the end of the day, the true connection to the ground of the agents is little Joanne, is Susie, is Don, is Mike, that's been taking the bills, filing the claims, changing the policies, that's been communicating and giving the delivering some of the best customer experience there is. Because outside of your home purchase, your car purchase, there's no other more important purchase than insurance purchase, right? And they've been providing the trust and peace of mind. 40% of these people are disappearing, right? So you look at what's coming down the pipeline. There's two issues I see coming down the pipeline. You have Gallagher's, Acrisure, Brown, and all these massive brokers are buying up these insurance left and right, 400, 500 agencies at a time. Are they putting the right people in the place to continue to run these places and providing that same customer experience support? So that's number one. That's challenge number one, right? Challenge number two, and I think that's a bigger challenge, is the insurance space on an agency level still attracting the best talent? I mean, are we still getting people who want to apply at a local agency in Columbus, Ohio to talk to people like Tim who own their restaurants? I mean, it's not just a money thing. It's also, I talk to so many agency owners and agency staff and agency managers. They take so much pride in what they do, right? Is that pipeline of talent still coming in? Because if that doesn't happen, what we're going to have is a Southwest experience. Southwest was in the news every day the last 2 weeks of 2022 because they decided to close down their call center to save themselves money and make themselves label themselves. We don't have call center no more, so now we're digital.
That as well with the banks here in the UK.
I mean, we're talking about like United, America, Delta. They were experiencing 4% cancellation, and Southwest had like 93% cancellation, 95% cancellation. So
it's a major problem, Jeff. And in our industry, you ask about talent. I think talent is going to be a major challenge within insurance because people are not, young people are not thinking about insurance. They may think about working with you, sorry, team, or me, because we are doing cool things. But they don't
Yeah,
always think
that's okay.
about
That's
going
right.
to the insurers, right? And
I
so,
agree. They don't want to work for Jeff. I completely agree.
well, I hope,
I'm a
but
nice guy.
it's
um,
interesting to see that the talent challenge means the talent is asking for remote work or flexible work or hybrid work. They are asking for skill set. So you mentioned as part of your work team, you are building digital ecosystem. You are involving the agents and the insurers. Your partners, your clients, everybody is an ecosystem so that you can learn together. And I've seen actually some companies now developing, even giving their free training. So I was doing some engagement with IBM, and they're giving their training, the same training IBMers off to their partners. So companies are trying to be innovative. But when you think about insurance, right, we have an agency issues, but actually when you start looking at a small commercial enterprise owner, what they are looking for is digitization, the mobile phone, as you mentioned, so tech-enabled solutions. They want spatial coverages, right? They want things which support and solve their problem. So they want some customization. And I'm very lucky, right? When I was talking about my insurers and my insurance is quite expensive, is because I have to be insured for the US. That's the main reason.
yeah,
And I have a bundle offer. So I have my cyber with everything else, which is super. And I think it is one of the few insurers in Europe which worked this one out for small business. And because they are probably the only one, yes, they are charging a high premium for it. So what
yeah.
would be, team, first with you, your last word of wisdom for our listener? And after that, I will go to Jeff.
Yeah, I think to tie a lot of it together, like what we've all talked about, continuously, I think ties back to the same theme, right? Even if you think about the supply and demand issue of talent and all the stuff happening in the insurance industry, we've got to look for ways to become more efficient through leveraging technology, data, whatever we can to create improved experiences for customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those improved experiences to me, I think, again, I said this earlier, but I feel so strongly about this. It shouldn't be tearing things down. We shouldn't look to completely rip everything apart and start over. What we should look to do is enhance the way we interact, what we interact with, and create a really great experience for customers with everything in mind, right? Based on what they want. And I think when I look at the world of insurance, I'm encouraged, right? Everybody's doing a lot of cool things. What I think I want more of and what I strive to do every day is connect with as many folks as possible to start breaking down the silos of walls,
Mm-hmm.
to start building together instead of separately. And I think as we build together toward a great customer experience, overall offering value, giving them things that are tangibly improving their business lives, their insurance products, their insurance policies, all those things, I think what we're going to end up with is a really great world, and it sort of solves the supply and demand issue of talent. Because if you become more efficient, if you become more pointed and focused toward the right things for customers, and do that in a way that doesn't create more work,
Mm-hmm.
then you may have attrition of talent in the industry, and I absolutely see that curve happening. But we're still going to be able to serve customers because we're still going to be efficient and try to do it right. So that would be my thoughts.
Jeff.
So last 5 years, $6.5 billion came into InsurTech. And hold on one second, my daughter just came in. $6.5 billion came into InsurTech, and that's a lot of money, right? And these VCs, many of them that work at InsurTech VCs, they come from the SaaS space because SaaS is the space that we know for the last 10 years, and SaaS is easy for them to make bet on.
Recurring revenue.
And yeah, and I think in the next 5 years, um, I really hope the VCs start broaden their mindset. InsurTech is not just UX. InsurTech is also CX. InsurTech is not just technology. InsurTech should also be distribution.
Yeah.
Distribution is where the revenue is. I mean, many people can tell you that, EBITDA revenue of insurance premiums can rival those of softwares, and also more of a fixed model versus a variable model, right?
Yeah.
But I get sad about watching many InsurTech carriers the last 5 years made the pitch to VCs, said, we are replacing the agents. We are replacing the distribution force that's been together for 10 years. If you look at Allstate purchased Esurance, they shelved it, right? They bought it, they shelved it. USA bought Nobler, they bought it and they shelved it. So, I think that should be a lesson to all the VCs that the next 5, 10, 20 years, there's still agents in the place.
Yeah.
Agents have a place in the ecosystem. And then the other thing I, want to send a message to out there, I see so many InsurTech founders making this mistake, is they are treasure people who are Silicon Valley from Northwestern universities versus the people who are 10 years, 15 years in the insurance space and come from insurance space. I'm trying to compete with my daughter's voice in the background, the sound.
That's all right.
And I think the people like Tim, myself, and many other out there provide so much value to the workforce in the next 5 to 10 years. We should be also take part in how we're shaping up InsurTech and insurance, and not just the software people and then the young Silicon Valley people.
Oh, I agree.
Arm brokers and agents. I love that message, Jeff. We've got to equip distribution to help customers, not replace them. I believe wholeheartedly that they need equipped and armed with the tools.
So, I need to highlight actually that, when I started working with startups 7 years ago, and I built Startup Bootcamp InsurTech in Europe, and I work with the Hartford in Connecticut with the InsurTech hub that I built with the accelerator then. One thing which came through our doors is, I would say 70% of the applications to the accelerator were from platform which were improving the customer engagement. Actually, Jeff, was all CX. And then gradually, as the industry matured and probably the investors met their demands, it moved more SaaS and more back of the envelope core system. I think now we are going to start seeing a rebalance. And as we saw, past 2 years, we had WeFox, which became very quickly a unicorn, and I think is around 6-7 billion valuation today. Because they didn't go direct. They went for the distribution and reimagining what distribution could look like. So there's a lot to say, to not try to get rid of the value chain, but augment the value chain with the services they need to become better. So on this note, I would like to thank you both. If people want to talk to you and find you, where do they go, Tim and Jeff? Where do we go?
So I would tell you, feel free to email me. My email address is fairly simple. It's Timothy, TIMOTHY, .Lovett, LOVETT, @thehartford.com. Would love to engage. Always willing to learn and understand what's going on in the market. So happy to connect and engage with anybody out there.
Thank you. Jeff?
I am on Facebook and LinkedIn. I am more active on LinkedIn with sharing of other people's posts and some of my posts. And also Tim, I'm trying to get him to be more active on LinkedIn.
He's begging me. Well. Feel free to try. I will. I'm not Jeff, but I will do my best.
We can repost, and we actually always, support our network. So every day we do our little bits. So people will find you both. Thank you very much for our session today. But on this note, I will say bye, and until next time. If you like this podcast, subscribe now, share with your friends, and if you enjoyed it, please give it a 5-star review. Also, if you want to cover any specific subject with me, contact me on Instagram under Sabine VDL Officials or LinkedIn under Sabine van der Linden. Thank you.